Have you ever felt like life was unfair to you? Like no matter how hard you try, nothing changes? Like the world keeps moving forward, but you're stuck in the same place? This is a story about a boy who had nothing, and I mean nothing. Once upon a time, in a dry, forgotten land where the wind carried dust instead of hope, there lived a little boy named Kian. His clothes were torn, his shoes were worn out, and his stomach was empty more days than it was full. There was no one waiting for him at home, no warm meals, no soft bed, just silence and survival. Kian didn't grow up with dreams. He grew up with hunger. The kind of hunger that doesn't just sit in your stomach, it sits in your mind. It follows you everywhere. It wakes you up at night. It reminds you again and again that you don't have enough. There were nights when Kian lay on the cold ground, staring into the darkness, listening to his own breathing, slow, tired, wondering if tomorrow would be any different. He would pull his knees close to his chest, trying to stay warm, trying to feel something close to comfort. But comfort was something he had never known. Every morning before the sun even touched the land, Kian was already awake, not because he was disciplined, but because his body refused to rest. Hunger had become his alarm clock. He walked for miles, barefoot sometimes, his feet cracked and sore, stepping over stones and dry earth. The wind would hit his face, carrying dust into his eyes, but he kept going, not because he was strong, but because he had no other choice. He searched for work, any kind of work. Some days he carried heavy sacks for farmers, his small body shaking under the weight, his shoulders burning, his hands blistered. Other days he cleaned dirty floors in exchange for leftover food, scraping what he could from plates that others had thrown away. Sometimes he collected pieces of scrap from the ground, metal, plastic, anything he could sell for a few coins. He would walk long distances just to trade them, only to receive almost nothing in return. And still, he said nothing, because something was better than nothing. People saw him, but they didn't stop. Some looked at him like he didn't belong. Some laughed. Some ignored him completely. And slowly, the world taught him something cruel, that even when you try, you are not always seen. There were days when his body felt too weak to move, days when he sat down, breathing heavily, his vision slightly blurred, wondering if he had reached his limit. But even then, he stood up again. One afternoon, after hours of walking under a burning sun, Kian found himself beside an old, broken car. It stood there, abandoned, rusted, forgotten, just like him. He sat down slowly, his legs trembling, his hands dirty, his face tired beyond his years. He looked at the ground, and for the first time in a long time, he stopped pretending to be strong. Why is my life like this? His voice was barely a whisper. No one answered. The world remained silent, as if it had nothing left to give him. And that was the moment something inside him broke. Tears filled his eyes, slowly, quietly, falling one after another. Not loud cries, not anger, just pain. Deep, heavy pain. The kind that sits in your chest and refuses to leave. He didn't wipe them away this time. He just let them fall, because there was no one there to see them anyway. And for a moment, he thought about stopping. Not just resting, but stopping completely. Giving up. Letting everything end right there beside that broken car. But then, through the silence, a memory returned. A voice. Soft, gentle, something he had not heard in years. His mother. Life will not always be kind to you, but that doesn't mean you stop moving. His breathing slowed. The tears stopped. He closed his eyes, holding on to that voice like it was the only thing keeping him from falling apart. And slowly, Very slowly, he opened his eyes again. Nothing around him had changed. The heat was still there. The hunger was still there. The pain was still there. But something inside him had changed. He placed his hands on the ground, pushed himself up, his body shaking, his legs weak, but he stood. And in that moment, without anyone hearing it, without anyone noticing, he made a promise. I will not give up. The next day, he worked again. And the day after that, he worked again. And the day after that, he worked again. Carrying, cleaning, walking, enduring, bleeding, trying, failing, trying again. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. His hands became rough, his body stronger, his mind harder. But the pain never fully left. There were still nights when he sat alone, staring into the darkness, remembering everything he had been through. Nights when tears returned, quietly, just like before. But now, they didn't stop him, because he had learned something powerful, that pain does not mean the end. Sometimes, it is the beginning. Slowly, life began to respond, not with miracles, not with comfort, but with small chances. A farmer who trusted him with more work, a place to sleep for a few nights, a little more food than before. Nothing big, but enough to keep moving forward.
And Kian never wasted those chances. He worked harder than anyone else, not because he wanted success, but because he refused to go back to that moment beside the broken car where he almost gave up. Years passed, and one day, that same boy who once had nothing stood on his own feet. Not rich, not perfect, but no longer broken. And in his eyes, there was something new. Not sadness, not fear, but strength. The kind of strength that only comes from surviving what should have destroyed you. So if you're watching this and life feels heavy, if you feel lost, if you feel like nothing is working, remember Kian. He had no support, no shortcuts, no easy path, but he had one thing, a reason to keep going. Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and your future is the moment you decide to not quit. So don't give up. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever.